Hey, it's Carly here from Made for More AI, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about what to do when you feel like you're just really struggling to learn something. If you feel like you're having all this information thrown at you and you just can't seem to retain the information, then this is really going to help you out. So I'm going to be doing a really short episode for you today, but it's something that I think is really, really powerful because I speak to people all the time and they say, like, I just don't get it. You know, like something that they're trying to learn. A lot of the time it's to do with tech. A lot of the conversations I have are around tech. And they're like, I just don't get it. Like, I keep trying to build my lead magnet, or I keep trying to do this and I just can't figure it out. And I had like this total brainwave the other day because this actually happened to me. So with Made for More AI, I also have some done for you clients. So we actually build out all of their businesses. We build out all of their funnels, all their automations, and we literally do everything for them in their business. And one of my clients, she was sending over some stuff to me in our Slack channel, and she was saying, right, so with this automation that we've got, I want it to go like this, I want it to go like this. And she sent like a really long document with like all of these words saying everything that she wanted to do. And I kept reading it and I kept reading it and I kept reading it, and I was thinking, this is just not going in. Like, I don't know why I'm struggling to get my head around this. I just can't figure out what she's asking me to do. And it wasn't her fault. She was like, you know, explaining it properly, but I just couldn't figure it out. And so I really sat down and tried to understand it. And then I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to draw it out. So I got onto this, there's this thing called Miro. I use Miro boards all the time, and it's where you can draw things out. So I draw out all of my funnel plans for my clients in a Miro board, so they can see visually what we're working on and what we're building out. But it really helps me as well to see all of the steps. So it's like you've got this page here and then this page there here, and then when that does that, then that does that. And these Miro boards really, really help me. And I just had this total like moment of, oh my God, I get why this isn't making sense. It's because I don't learn in this way. So when I see loads of words, it really freaks me out. Like, even if anyone sends me a really long message, especially on Facebook Messenger, if I get a long message on Facebook Messenger, I'm so intimidated by it that I end up just completely turning the whole thing off. I'm like, oh God, I can't even look at it. I can't even get to it. And mass amounts of words really freak me out. I can't see it. You know, when people say like in one ear, out the other, that's what I'm like when I see loads of text, or if I get loads of information at once. It literally just goes like and it just falls out of my head. Like, it doesn't even stay around for a couple of seconds to try and see if I can learn it. It just goes completely through my brain and out the other side. So I was looking at this whole kind of like document and realizing that this is just not the way I learn. And as soon as I mapped it out on that Miro board and I drew it out, I was like, duh, this is so simple. I totally get it. This is exactly what we're doing, and we can add that in, and we can add that in. And it was so clear for me. And I realized that I'm just such a visual learner. And so what I wanted to speak to you about today is really learning to identify how you learn. Now, I did a podcast on this a few weeks ago now. I say a few weeks ago, it's probably months ago because I've been so inconsistent with it, but it was really talking about how powerful it is when you can learn the skill of learning. When you learn how to learn well and retain that information, it's so powerful. And it's so important to figure out how you learn, because a lot of the time you might actually be really smart at something and you may be able to grasp something really, really well, but you're trying to retain that information and absorb that information in a way that just does not fit your brain. So as I said, for me, mass amounts of text, I can't even read it. I can't see what is happening. But if there is a picture, if there's a diagram, then that's amazing for me. So the first thing is figure out how you learn. So look at the things that you are amazing at. Maybe you've been through a course before, maybe you studied something, maybe there's something that you're really, really good at. And how do you get that information? How do you pick up those things so quickly where it just feels like second nature to you? Because once you understand that, even when you're trying to do something that's really, really complex that you have been really struggling with, you can then convert that into the way of learning that you want. And then that's how you're going to be able to retain that information to be able to then apply that skill. So as I said, for me, it was that Miro board. I just had to draw it out. But maybe it's the opposite way around. Maybe for you, you see a diagram of something and you're like, this makes no sense. Like, I know if some people see my Miro boards, they would freak out. And actually, when I sent this Miro board to this client, she was like, whoa, that's a lot. but that is actually what the inside of my brain looks like. So it looks really busy to someone else who isn't visual, but for me, that's like clarity. Everything's calm, everything's peaceful, everything makes sense, everything's where it should be. So it may be that you are trying to do something right now and you're trying to learn it on a medium that is just clashing with your brain. Your brain is like, can't compute, don't know what you're talking about, I can't take in this information. And instead, if you could try and either take that information, turn it into the medium that suits you, so either make it visual or make it written or make it audible, then you've got much more chance of getting that in. I actually used to do this a lot with my when I was in performing arts. If I had an audition and I had to like learn some script or learn some scenes from a a play or something, for me, I used to actually write it down, because actually writing down the entire script visually, when I was thinking of the words, I was thinking of my pen writing those words. I wasn't really thinking of the text that I was reading, if that makes sense. So that was the only way that I was able to get those words to stay in my head so that I could remember them, was to visually paint a picture of those words for myself. And I just think it's a really important thing to look at, because yes, that is like hugely important for how you learn, but obviously when you're then looking at creating courses and teaching other people, you also want to be aware that your students are going to learn very, very differently. So that's why a lot of the time when I do a presentation, I will present in person. So a lot of the time it's, me talking. Sometimes I love to watch the person talking. I like their expression. I like how they use their hands. I like, if you've been on any of my calls before, I'm literally like jazz hands all over the place. I even am now doing this podcast. So I like that, but I also love to see slides. If I can see anything, drawn out and diagrams and images and things like that, that stays in my head so much more than if I was just to watch the person speaking. So when you are creating your content, and this is true for social media as well, maybe some of the content that you're creating, maybe you've got really used to doing, face to camera talking. Maybe you could throw some diagrams in there as well. Maybe you could add in some pictures. That's why these kind of talking reels, where there's captions and there's emojis, that's why they're really engaging, because it's hitting the spot for so many different types of learners. The people who just want to listen to it are getting what they need. The people that are watching, the person, they're getting what they need. The people that need the captions and they need to read it, they're getting what they need. And the people that need those emojis and the things that, they're going to remember when they think of a word, they're getting what they need. So think of this across your social media, and how can you kind of cater to all those different types of learners and have different aspects of your learning and vary it a little bit. But also think about how, when you're creating your course, how can you deliver it in a way that it does hit all of those different people? And having slides and having diagrams and having captions and things like that is going to be a really great way of doing it. And of course, in the lesson, so when we build our courses in Made for More AI, you can have the video as at the top part of the lesson. You can also add a full description. You can even add a whole transcript of your courses if you want, if someone wants to read along, and that's a better way of them learning. That's a great way to do that. But then you can also have the workbooks. If you had a workbook to go along with every single lesson, that's a really practical way, because a lot of other people learn by doing. This is actually another one of my learning traits, is doing. This is why I never really sit around and think about anything. I never really sit and think, I wonder how to do that. I just think, let me just get in and, play around and I'll figure it out. Because I learn really, really well from doing it, most of the time doing it wrong, then figuring out a new way around it, and then I find my way of doing it. So that was just a whistle stop tour today of this learning thing, but I have become so fascinated by the concept of learning and the idea that learning is a skill, and it is something that you can train yourself to be better at. You can train yourself to become a really good learner. But if I sit and read documents and documents, like, oh my goodness, if I like contracts and documents, when I was younger, I used to always think that I wanted to be a lawyer. And then as I got older, I realized that probably 90% of that is like reading through documents and things like that. That is my worst nightmare. I feel like I could actually claw my eyes out if I was looking at that much text. So I think it's a really interesting thing to think about, how you learn, how you can retain that information, and asking yourself the question, how can I understand this? Such a powerful question. How can I understand this? As opposed to saying, I just don't get it. Like, whatever. How can I understand this? How could I take this information that I've been given and turn it into a way where I am able to understand it and I'm able to learn it in my way, in my language, the way that my brain works? Because also, the older I've got, the more I've realised, and the more people I've worked with, the more I've realised how different all of our brains are. Our brains are so different. We're all wired so differently, and sometimes I used to get so frustrated, even with my partner, and I'd say, like, why don't you get that? Why does that not make sense? And we are just so different. The way we think, the way we work is so different. So if you enjoyed this, please make sure that you subscribe to this podcast. It really does make such a difference. Share it with anyone else that you think would find this valuable. And of course, post it on your social media and stuff like that. And also, I want to let you know that next week I'm hosting a bootcamp called Supercharge Your Sales on Social. Now, if you feel like you are constantly posting on social media, or maybe you're not posting on social media because you have no idea what to do, and you're like, how are these people making all this money on social media and I'm struggling to get one sale? I'm going to be taking you through my whole process. I did a webinar around a similar topic a couple of weeks ago, but in this bootcamp, we're actually going to be building it out together. So if you are on Made for More AI, that's perfect. We're literally going to be doing it in real time together. If you are not a member of Made for More AI and you want to see what all the fuss is about, and you want to go through this bootcamp and have stuff at the end of it that you can implement in your business straight away, you can actually sign up for a 14-day free trial. If you click the link in the bio of this, you can register for the bootcamp, and then it's going to take you to a page where you can start your free trial. You can try it for 14 days, go through that bootcamp with me. As I said, this is super practical. This is not me just being like, this is what you could do. I'm literally going to be like, be on your laptop, let's do this together, share your screen, let's see what you've got. This is going to be really practical, and my aim is that by the end of it, you all have a super slick funnel set up so that every time you're posting on social media, you can turn that into either a new email list subscriber and grow your email list, or turn that into a sale. That is my goal. So join me for the Supercharge Your Sales on Social, it's a tongue twister, bootcamp next week. I'm going to be posting about it on my social media, and I can't wait to see you there. All right, my loves, I'll speak to you soon. Bye.